The former richest man in the world, Bill Gates, once said, "Spending money wisely is as difficult as earning it." Today, we are going to share a Japanese best-selling book titled Learning to Spend Money. Spending money is something we do every day. You might think, learning to spend money? Just give me the money and I'll spend it all. Spending money is easy, but not everyone knows how to do it wisely. Have you ever faced these three ultimate life questions? Who am I? Where did I come from? And where did all my money go? The author of this book, a Japanese man named Masato Noguchi, has something to say about this. Masato Noguchi is a renowned MBA tutor in Japan, long active in the finance sector, having worked at companies like Credit Suisse, JP Morgan, and Goldman Sachs. He is a big name in the financial industry. He found that many people have significant misconceptions about spending. Most people think being good at spending means being good at saving money and buying cheap items. An old saying goes, "Not poor by eating or dressing, but poor by failing to plan," which speaks to the need to live within one's means and to manage household expenses wisely. However, the author mentions that this is a big misunderstanding about spending money. In reality, being good at spending money means being able to spend more and more. How can one spend more and more money? That's what this book teaches. To achieve this, one needs to understand three things: differentiate three wallets, grasp one principle, and avoid two traps. Let's look at these one by one. First, let's differentiate the three wallets. Everyone has three wallets, which are not literally a wallet, a backpack, and a belt bag, but are the consumption wallet, the speculation wallet, and the investment wallet. We might think we are just pulling money out of one wallet, but our spending actually falls into these three categories. For example, the consumption wallet is for spending money to satisfy personal desires, like buying flowers, shopping for clothes, or getting a facial. The speculation wallet is where we spend money on taking chances, like buying lottery tickets, gambling, or purchasing art and collectibles, hoping they will appreciate in value. The third kind, the investment wallet, is different. It's where we spend money on opportunities that might earn us more money in the future, such as buying financial products or investing in startups. Knowing these three wallets helps us become adept at spending. As a spending expert, you should use your investment wallet more, your consumption wallet moderately, and avoid your speculation wallet. Why? First, let's talk about not using the speculation wallet. Speculation is largely out of our control, and indulging in speculative activities can lead to losing all the assets you've worked hard to accumulate. The investment wallet, however, is different. You definitely should use it more because the money spent from this wallet is meant to earn more money in the future. However, you might often forget that the money spent can earn more in the future and don't consider whether your spending will bring future returns. I remember during an economics class, the teacher asked us to give examples from life about investments that bring no returns. A classmate next to me said, "Taking my sister out doesn't bring returns." He had a point, which shows what a failed investment is. Conversely, an older student always takes younger students out, which could be an investment that might yield returns in the future. So, from the younger student's perspective, remember, guard against fire, theft, and older brothers to avoid a failed investment. Similarly, with spending money, consider more whether the money you invest now will multiply in the future. Spending money on investments doesn't just mean buying stocks or real estate. It includes investing in your own education or your children's education, such as paying for career development courses. These are investments in yourself that could bring you more returns in the future. On the other hand, the money from your consumption wallet should be spent moderately. On one hand, We should enjoy life, but on the other hand, excessive consumption can impact our ability to earn money. What should you do? The author offers us 2 tricks. First, the money you spend should be worth it. How do you calculate whether it's worth it? It's not just about the price, but whether it provides more satisfaction. Look, a young girl just starting university might love buying cheap clothes that she can change frequently, thinking it saves money. However, after buying cheap clothes many times, she might realize that buying 10 cheap items isn't as good as buying one more expensive but quality piece of clothing. The amount of money spent might be the same, but the latter provides more psychological satisfaction and practical value. This is how this girl gets better at spending on clothing. The second trick for using the consumption wallet is to spend part of the money earned from the investment wallet on consumption. For example, if you made $100,000 from investing in a clothing store in a year, you could take out $50,000 for consumption. This way, your total assets are still increasing and you aren't eating into your capital, thus not overly affecting your earning ability. To use the investment wallet more, the consumption wallet moderately, and avoid the speculation wallet, that's what I wanted to tell you about the first important thing to remember about spending money. However, let's further differentiate here. The wallet your money comes from isn't just about what you buy, but about the value it ultimately generates. Buying clothes and beauty treatments are generally consumption, but they could also be investments. For example, there's a joke about 3 girlfriends who haven't met in 2 years and catch up over chat. One says, "Last year, I spent all my money on lottery tickets and made $50,000 by the end of the year." Another friend says, "Last year, I invested all my money in a store and I made $100,000. The third friend says, "Last year, I spent all my money on makeup and beauty treatments." Generally speaking, the first friend spent her money from the speculation wallet, the second from the investment wallet, and the third from the consumption wallet. However, the third friend says, "Today, I'm here to give you wedding invitations. I married a millionaire." So, the money this third girl spent on makeup and beauty can also be considered an investment. Of course, this is just a joke, but it helps you understand that you can't judge the wallet just by what you buy. Now, we know we need to use the investment wallet more, but how exactly do we use it? That's the topic we're going to discuss next, the principle of making money grow through spending. This principle is, only buy things that will be more valuable in the future. This seems obvious, but the problem is, how do I know how much the things I buy will be worth in the future? Probably the hardest thing is estimating the value, then discounting it. In the eyes of economists, almost all values can be converted into money for comparison. For example, now there are 2 English training classes. One is a regular English training class that you only need to spend $30,000 on. One is a one-on-one business English training class, but you need to spend $100,000. At this time, do you choose $30,000 or choose $100,000? Many people might just look at how much money they have right now, so buy that much course, or look at which place has famous teachers and the reputation is good, you buy. But the author says, from the perspective of spending money on investment, you have to calculate how much return the money you spend can bring you. For different people, the future value of the same thing or item is completely different. Suppose you are preparing to find a job in a foreign company. Fluent business English skills are very important, and once you enter a foreign company, it is estimated that the income can reach 1 million a year. From this perspective, you must invest in the 100,000 yen business English training class because it can bring you more money in the future. If you are already an employee, you just want to communicate with some foreigners when you go out to travel and avoid language communication barriers. At this time, you only need to calculate, If the cost of translation and the like caused by not knowing English in the future exceeds 30,000 yen, then spending this 30,000 yen now is able to break even. This is the estimation of the value of the purchased item in the future, which can help you decide whether to spend this money. However, just estimating this way is actually not enough, because this method is too simple and has a loophole. That is, the amount you estimate this way is often too high. Why? Because you ignore an important factor, which is time. In other words, the money in the future is not as valuable as the money now. I now borrow 100,000 yen from you, and I will pay you back 100,000 yen after 3 years. On the surface, the loan amount and the repayment amount are the same, but in fact, the borrower loses. Why? You can look at this matter from two perspectives. On the one hand, if you put this 100,000 yen in the bank, you will have interest after 3 years, but now there is no. Isn't it a loss? On the other hand, money is getting less and less valuable. This year 100 yen can buy 5 apples, but next year 100 yen may only be able to buy 4 apples, and 100,000 yen 3 years later may only be equivalent to 80,000 yen now. Therefore, when you calculate the future returns of spending money on investment, you cannot directly compare the amount of money you might earn in the future with the amount of money you spend now, but you must give the money in the future a discount, and this discount, in economics, is called the discount rate. This principle sounds very simple, but most people often don't realize this problem. Imagine that if your work income is fixed at 1 million yen within 4 years, there are 2 ways to pay wages. The first type is that the salary increases year by year, the first year 100,000, the second year 200,000, the third year 300,000, the fourth year 400,000. The second type of salary decreases year by year, the first year 400,000, the second year 300,000, the third year 200,000, the fourth year 100,000. Which way of paying wages would you like to choose? Many people would like to choose the former, that is, the salary income is increasing. Because people feel very good every year when their wages rise, and they feel like they have lost something if they choose a gradually decreasing salary. But in fact, if you understand the concept of the discount rate, you know that the earlier you get more money, the less discount loss you have. Not to mention that you can make other investments by getting money in advance, which brings additional benefits. Similarly, the money we earn, if it is left at home and does not move, is actually depreciating every day, even if it is not stolen or robbed. 100 yen after 1 year is not worth 100, so this is also why the author encourages us to spend the money in the investment wallet, to let the money spent in the future bring more money. To see if the money you spend is worth it, in addition to considering the discount rate, you also have to consider another factor, which is how long it will take to get a return, and by that time, whether the return you want is still as important to you. For example, you are now 80 years old, and someone tells you to invest 1 million to him, and he will return 10 million to you after 20 years. You may not agree, because you estimate that you will not live to 100 years old to enjoy this money. So the older you get, the less you may value future money. You tell a person who is about to run out of breath to buy a 5-year fixed-term financial product, and he may be angry immediately. But if you tell a young person, you give me 2 million now, and I will give you 10 million after 30 years, many young people are willing, because for them, they are only 50 years old after 30 years, and there is still a lot of time to enjoy this money. In addition to age affecting spending on investment, you also have to consider that as time changes, your own values, preferences, and state are also changing. Things you feel are worth spending money on now, are they still worth it a few years later? That's not necessarily the case. For example, you loved some toys when you were a child, but 2 years later you look at them and think they are very childish and will never play with them again. You now spend money to invest in the most luxurious audio equipment, intending to train yourself to become a singer, but 2 years later you give up the idea of becoming a singer, and the value of this set of equipment has greatly depreciated. So the same item may be very valuable to you now. You value it highly and are willing to spend a lot of money to invest, but you may think that the investment value is not so high in 2 or 3 years. So the original investment is very likely to fail. Therefore, when you spend money on investment, you also need to consider the change of time. The significance and value of the investment may change. This is what the author Masato Noguchi tells us: the principle of spending more and more money, only buy things that will be more and more valuable in the future. However, you may notice that when we talked about spending money just now, we need to estimate the future value of the things we buy, judge the discount rate, etc., all of which require us to make estimates. But we may make mistakes when estimating. What to do if we miscalculate and possibly lose money? The author believes that when we make mistakes in spending money on investment, there are often two reasons. One is the probability illusion, and the other is the habit of wrong judgment. The so-called probability illusion. Although our rationality can derive reasonable probabilities, we are often led by our own intuition and use the wrong probabilities, resulting in incorrect judgments of investment value. Imagine that you have always wanted to be an actor, but you have achieved nothing after 10 years of struggle. Suddenly, you receive an audition notice for a movie, asking you to audition. You received a notice in advance that the competition for this actor selection is very fierce, and the probability of being selected is only 1 in 1,000. But you still want to give it a try. Because this is your last chance. If it doesn't work, you have to go back to your hometown. In fact, your family has already found a company for you. As long as you give a reply before next Monday, you can go back to your hometown to work. As a result, on Saturday, you received a notice that you passed the audition. Just when you are in high spirits and ready to hold a celebration party, you received another email saying, "We have notified all the applicants of the interview results, but due to staff errors, 1% of the people received the wrong results, and the correct results will be notified again next Tuesday." What should you do at this time? If you wait until next Tuesday, you will lose the job opportunity to go back to your hometown. If you don't wait, what if you are hired this time? Won't you miss the struggle of 10 years? What choice would you make? Most people will think, there is only a 1% chance of error, and there is a 99% chance of success. Of course, you should stay, so you refuse the job offer. Perhaps, the more rational thing to do is to go home honestly. Why? Think about it. As I said earlier, this opportunity has only a 1,000th chance of success. Suppose there are 10,000 people participating in the audition this time. Only 10 people can be selected. And this time when the notification is sent, 1% of the people get the wrong result. That is, 100 people get the wrong result. Suppose these 100 people are all unqualified, and the wrong notification is qualified. Then there are truly qualified 10 people, plus 100 people who are not qualified but received the wrong notification, a total of 110 people. Therefore, among these 110 people who received the qualified notification, only 10 people are really through. That is, your probability of being unqualified is as high as 90.9%. This is when we make estimates. Intuition will misjudge probabilities. After all, although our brain can calculate probabilities, it is ultimately not good at using probabilities for analysis. For example, in a war, everyone charges forward each time. Some people are unfortunately injured, while others are unharmed each time. So these surviving soldiers will think that they are specially protected by gods, with particularly hard lives, and they will attribute some random small probability events in the world to fate or some special meaning. In fact, the soldiers who survived are very lucky, just people of small probability events each time, but most of us rarely believe and understand the facts. When spending money, anyone may have this wrong probability illusion. For example, many people are willing to spend 5 yen to buy a lottery ticket because they see the benefit of earning tens of millions of yen at a time, but they do not realize that this winning probability is even smaller than the probability of being struck by lightning. There is such a news that a grandmother took her grandson in front of a lottery booth, and the grandson insisted on grabbing a lottery ticket to play, so the grandmother had no choice but to buy it. As a result, unexpectedly, they won the first prize of millions after the draw. Grandma suddenly remembered that she also won a prize when she bought a lottery ticket when her grandson was just born. Therefore, the grandmother firmly believes that this is a lucky grandson who can bring good luck to herself. Holding the mentality of getting rich, she continued to let her grandson pick lottery tickets for herself. Of course, it wasn't so effective this time. We will think that we are different from others because we have not been injured in several battles and children have helped us win prizes twice in a row, and we think our probability of success is much higher. When we spend money, we also feel that it is our stronger ability to buy cheap goods several times in a row, but it is likely to be just a probability coincidence. The reason why we are not used to using probability thinking to think about problems is to some extent because probability analysis does not match our daily experience. It is more like a God's perspective overlooking the overall situation, treating each result as one of many possible results. However, if we let ourselves make more accurate estimates when spending money, we need to use more probability thinking, calculate more rational probabilities, and increase the chances of making money. This is the first reason why we may lose money. In addition, we may also lose money because of some wrong judgment habits. That is to say, things that you know you shouldn't do but insist on doing. Behavioral economics expert Daniel Kahneman once said, "People react excessively to lower probabilities and inadequately to higher probabilities." For example, everyone knows that the accident rate of airplanes is much lower than that of cars. But once there is news of an airplane accident, the number of people taking planes is greatly reduced. Obviously, knowing that riding in a car is more dangerous, but people still make such decisions. As a result, after 9.11, many Americans chose to drive themselves, and in the next 3 months, the number of motor vehicle accident deaths in the United States increased by 1,000 compared to the same period last year. For example, gamblers clearly know that the probability of turning the tables in the last round is very small, but they still gamble with their lives and make this wrong decision. This kind of wrong judgment habit of knowing that there are tigers in the mountains and preferring to walk towards the mountains has a discipline dedicated to studying it, called behavioral economics. For example, studies have found that when people spend money, the fear of losing money is greater than the joy of making money. For example, your family is not very wealthy, but your child has received an invitation to participate in a Sino-US Outstanding Youth Summer Camp event, but the condition is to pay 100,000 yen. In fact, considering that participating in this event can help children broaden their horizons and increase future high-quality networking opportunities, this investment is cost-effective. But for you, although you can also come up with this 100,000 yen, the economic condition of the family will be much tighter. At this time, would you spend this 100,000 yen? Many parents may choose a sense of security at this time. This is actually a very cost-effective investment from a rational analysis, but because of the habit of wrong judgment, the pursuit of avoiding the sense of insecurity leads us to miss a good spending investment opportunity. There are still many similar wrong judgment habits in our lives that will affect our spending investment decisions. Previously, our channel talked about Daniel Kahneman's book, thinking, fast and slow. If you are interested in this topic, you can listen to that episode to learn more. Since we are likely to fail an investment due to the illusion of probability or judgment habits, is there any way to reduce investment losses? In order to ensure stable investment and avoid risks, the author suggests two strategies. One is a portfolio investment strategy, and the other is an option strategy. The portfolio investment strategy, to put it bluntly, is not to put all the eggs in one basket. You should not concentrate all the risks on one thing to avoid losing all your family wealth due to your wrong judgment. This concept can not only be applied in daily investment, such as investing in different stocks, bonds, and funds. The second strategy is to use options. When you hear this option, it feels like a very professional financial investment tool, but in fact, the option thing is already very common in daily life. The essence of options is to specify in advance that within an agreed time, spend a certain amount of money to buy the right to a certain transaction. This sounds a bit abstract. Let me give you an example. For example, when you go to rent a house, when you sign the contract, you have to pay a deposit. For example, the rent of 4,000 yen may require 10%, which is 400 yen of deposit. This deposit is actually an option. Why? Actually, you spent 400 yen to buy a future right. If you find a house that only costs 3,000 yen in the next month, which is more cost-effective, then you can give up this 400 yen. You have the right to choose to give up this transaction. When the future investment may fail, this is a right of regret you buy for yourself. This idea is very important. That is, when you are uncertain about the investment result, you can first spend a little money to buy the right to this investment opportunity. If after a while, you think this investment opportunity is not good or there is a better opportunity, you don't want this part of the deposit and pursue a better choice, then the risk of this investment in life will be greatly resolved. This principle can be applied in many aspects, such as before you go to start a business, you can first sign a leave without pay agreement with the company, which is an option for you. You almost bought a right to choose other opportunities if the entrepreneurship fails at no cost. This is to hedge the future risk by having more choices. Speaking of this hedging, there is a news that I think is very representative. That is, the largest condom manufacturer Durex acquired the largest milk powder manufacturer Mead Johnson. This is a perfect risk hedge. You either buy my set, or you use my milk powder after 10 months. So Durex's investment is not afraid of failure. This is the main content of the book, Learning to Spend Money, that we have conveyed to you. Let's review. The core view of the entire book, Learning to Spend Money, is, by mastering the correct method, let us spend more and more money. To achieve this, first of all, we need to distinguish the three ways of spending money. One is consumption, one is speculation, and one is investment. The author suggests that we try not to speculate, but to put money into investment and use the money earned from investment to moderately consume, which may be the best plan. Secondly, how can we ensure that our money is spent wisely for the future? This involves analyzing how much money we can potentially earn in the future. From a future perspective, we need to consider how much potential value can be converted into cash, while also accounting for the variable of time. Investment returns should include consideration of the discount rate. Furthermore, it's crucial to recognize that our understanding and perception of the same thing can vary significantly over time. Being aware of this is essential for making more objective investment decisions. Finally, investment is subjective analysis and judgment, so we may make mistakes, mainly in two aspects. One is the illusion of probability, and the other is the habit of wrong judgment. To reduce the chance of investment failure, We need to make fewer mistakes in these two aspects and at the same time adopt portfolio investment strategies and design option methods to avoid risks so that we can spend more and more money. That's the essence of this book. You can click the description below the video to find the link to the book. Welcome to read it. You can also share this book with your friends. If you like the content of Daily Book Dive, click the subscribe button to stay updated. Your encouragement helps us continue bringing book essence to our community. Congratulations, you've finished another book.